all of our Housing Authority items. You can clap for this one. Thank you so much. We will now adjourn as the Housing Authority to reconvene the City Council meeting. Clerk. Thank you. Thank you. Please introduce item 204.
Item 204, Palm Avenue Transitional Housing for the SMART Program, project number 569136. This item is not subject to the mayor's veto. Jeffrey A. Peterson, Development Project Manager, 3 Development Services Department, is listed as staff. We do have quite a number of public speakers on this, over 20, so folks will be limited to 1 minute per speaker, just so people can start consolidating their comments now.
And before we begin, the city attorney, the assistant city attorney, then would have some brief comments.
Yes, I just wanted to comment on the standard for this item. The item before you is a quasi-judicial proceeding, meaning that the decision must be based on the evidence before you and not upon information obtained outside of the hearing. Due process requires a fair hearing, meaning that the council members as decision makers must be fair and impartial. Having prior knowledge of the factual background does not in and of itself indicate improper bias or mandate recusal. However, if any council member believes that based on any information received outside of this hearing, they cannot be fair and impartial, he or she should recuse themselves. If any council member desires to make a statement affirming that you are relying on the record before you today, you may do so. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll begin with some introductory comments and a video presentation from City Attorney Mara Elliott.
Thank you, Council President. 5 months ago, you approved the purchase of a motel on Palm Avenue with a history of low occupancy and a high crime rate. You bought the motel to expand the San Diego Misdemeanants at-risk track program. The SMART program helps our most vulnerable citizens get off the streets and into a safe environment where they can get their lives back on track. Today, we're here for your approval of a conditional use permit and funding that will allow the city to rehabilitate the motel and open our first Smart House in 2018. Unfortunately, opponents of the Smart House have misrepresented the program and, even worse, portrayed its participants as threats to our community. But on the bright side, some council members who are inspired by the hope this program brings have expressed an interest in having such a program in their communities. This promising program has received $3 million in Proposition 47 funds. In its first year, about 24 people entered the SMART program. These low-level offenders had been living on the streets, using drugs, and cycling through our criminal justice system. After a careful screening, we selected these participants because they were looking for a way to overcome addiction, obtain permanent housing, and acquire the skills they need to support themselves upon graduation. 2 months ago, I was honored to speak at the graduation ceremony for SMART participants. Accompanied by family and friends, they celebrated one of the most difficult achievements imaginable, kicking the long-term drug addictions that were destroying their lives. One of those graduates is Theodore Dyson. Theodore was living on the streets a year ago. Now he is enrolled at San Diego City College with the goal of becoming a drug and alcohol counselor. He is off drugs and getting ready to transition into permanent housing. Theodore shared his thoughts with us in a short video. Let's watch.
My name is Theodore Dizon, and I am a miracle graduate of the SMART program. A year ago, I was homeless, living in a tent on the sidewalk on 16th and Market. I allowed myself to get arrested, and as before in my past, the police had intervened and saved my life. Prior to my being on the street, I had resentments with the police. I ran from them. But in the back of my mind, I was always thankful because they did intervene and stop me from the actual pit that I was creating for myself. I have nothing but appreciation because they saved my life. As the program has given me a safe place to live and allow me to make decisions where I want, what I want to be, who I want to be. I'm currently within the nine months that I've been there. I no longer use drugs. I feel good about myself. I've reunited with family. I've made my mother proud before she passed, knowing that I was doing the right thing. I am enrolled in college to become a drug and alcohol counselor. I actively want to give back what has been given to me. A lot of programs are like revolving doors. This is not. This is a door that is open that opens many other doors progressively. This is why I'm bonding with this program and want to give back and actually join with the program in time. The stigma of being homeless and the stigma of being a drug addict are unfounded. What I want to do is being in a community where I could be a productive member. And the place where I will reside is a drug-free zone. How many places can say that? That this is a drug-free zone where people are actually healing and changing and actually becoming a productive member of society. I work in a church and doing volunteer work. I'm becoming an AOD counselor. I'm a whole person today. That's an asset. I'm an underutilized asset. And many of my peers are the same. I'm no different than you. I just need an opportunity to improve myself.
Having spent time getting to know Theodore, I agree with him. He's no different than you, than me, or anyone in this room. There are hundreds of others like Theodore who are looking for the opportunity that SMART provides, the opportunity to once again be a productive member of society. The SMART House, with 70 new beds that will fill quickly, will give them that opportunity. I have one final thought as I introduce our next speaker. At the graduation ceremony, many of the graduates thanked the officers of the San Diego Police Department for caring about them as individuals and for urging them to get into the SMART program. Some said that these caring police officers saved their lives. My office is very grateful for the support we've received from the San Diego Police Department and our other SMART program partners. With that, I give you Chief Shelley Zimmerman.
Thank you very much, City Attorney Elliott. And I will tell you is that our San Diego Police Department, we are very proud to be part of the SMART program, which is a collaborative effort to help get the chronic offender off the street and back on track. SMART is aimed at the chronic misdemeanor offenders who often suffer from drug or mental health issues. It really is, as you heard, a true partnership with government, community groups, and the offender working toward a lasting solution to recidivism that will improve the quality of life for not just that individual, but for all San Diegans. Frankly, Prop 47 removed the incentive for chronic drug offenders to get treatment, and it has set in motion a revolving door in the community justice system with chronic offenders being cycled from arrest to court date to the street, from arrest to court date to the street, and over again. I'll tell you is that our officers at the San Diego Police Department, they see these results every single day. These chronic offenders are very well known to our police officers, often on a first-name basis, and they are often our most vulnerable community members. Now, the officers that deal with them week after week recognize more than I think anyone else is the need for this long-term care and support services that provide alternative solutions to incarceration. One benefit of SMART is how it capitalizes on the police officers' expertise. SMART offers can be made in the field by our homeless outreach team and our quality of life teams, and the officers who have developed relationships and trust, as you just heard. They know that they are recommending a program, our police officers, that invest in the success for the long term, not just for one-night solution. And by giving these individuals the care and support they need, SMART also is going to free up vital police resources to address other priorities. I'll tell you is that our public deserves a system that is a win-win. A win in providing treatment for individuals who want treatment while protecting the public from the people who refuse treatment. As you heard, SMART is already working, and there are many success stories. And my police department takes great pride in being able to help people get off the streets and into the treatment programs and bridge housing that will turn their lives around. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we'll hear from Marshall Anderson from the Mayor's Office.
Thank you, Council President. Just wanted to quickly state on the Mayor's behalf that as we move forward on several fronts to reduce homelessness, expanding the SMART program is critical. By developing a diversion for people in and out of the justice system, we're giving repeat low-level offenders the opportunity to turn their lives around in a stable, supportive environment rather than end up homeless or in jail. This is all about investing in a person's future on the front end rather than spending significant public resources as that individual continuously cycles through the criminal justice system. With that, Council President, I will gladly turn over to staff.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from staff. How much time would you like for your presentation?
For my presentation for the CUP is 6 minutes.
6 minutes, you got it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council President and members of the City Council. My name is Jeff Peterson. I'm the Development Project Manager for the project before you today. And to my right is,
Stephen Medulla-Williams, Program Manager, Economic Development Department.
oops,
Stephen Medulla-Williams, Program Manager, Economic Development Department.
Laura Easton, Chief Deputy City Attorney. I'm the lead on the SMART program on behalf of the City Attorney's Office.
the request before the City Council today is to rehabilitate an existing 61-room hotel into a transitional housing facility containing 42 rooms with a total of 84 beds. On November 16, 2017, the City of San Diego took ownership of the property. The project requires approval of a conditional use permit and the approval of a resolution determining the approval of the project is exempt from CEQA. This project site is located within the appealable area of the coastal overlay zone and pursuant to San Diego Municipal Code Section 126.0704, the project is exempt from requiring to obtain a coastal development permit. The project site is located at 1788 Palm Avenue, and which is west of Interstate 5. The site is located approximately 2.2 miles from the Pacific Ocean. This is an aerial photo of this in the surrounding community, and then a large aerial photo showing the actual existing development. The subject property is currently improved with an existing two-story hotel that was constructed in 1987. This is a view of the site west of Palm Avenue. This is a view of the project looking east on Palm Avenue. The project site, which shows the extensive improvements to the site, the parking lot, and the landscaping areas. The project includes interior and exterior improvements such as new office space, computer rooms, full-service kitchens, living and dining rooms, laundry rooms, fitness room, lockers, and storage rooms. The existing 53 on-site parking spaces will be reconfigured to a total of 25 parking spaces, and the remaining areas will be developed as a passive open green space and new landscaping. The facility would include safe and security improvements such as new parking lot lighting, exterior security cameras, new fencing and gates, new sidewalks, and a new fire suppression system. The project includes design elements to enhance the curb appeal. Additional improvements also increase American with disability accessibility to the site. This is a color rendering of the project. Conditions of approval is that the facility would implement and enforce rules of conduct, which is also included as an attachment exhibit in your permit, establish a neighborhood advisory committee, implement a communication litter control plan, and implement and maintain a security plan. The Community Plan's Local Coastal Program, identified as Appendix H, recommends, does not require, the retention and rehabilitation of the existing hotel, retail, and visitor-oriented commercial areas. This is in order to maintain visitor and oriented uses and public access to coastal resources. The existing hotel has been underutilized for many years, and the occupancy rate for 2015 was 28.5% and 30.6% for 2016. Therefore, the existing hotel was not functioning as a visitor-oriented use. The general plan and the community plan contains multiple policies addressing a variety of topics such as land use, housing, mobility, conservation, recreation, and economic prosperity. Given this range of topics, it is not uncommon to have competing policies. Staff has evaluated the project and determined that The general plan housing element places a greater emphasis with multiple policies supporting the citywide need for affordable and transitional housing. In addition to the general plan policy's direction, the City Council has continued to declare a citywide affordable housing emergency. The proposed transitional housing facility will provide an opportunity for low-level misdemeanor offenders to live in a safe residential environment while helping them develop the skills necessary to live a self-sufficient and independent life. On November 8th, 2017, the Otay Mesa Nestor Community Planning Group voted 12-02 to recommend denial of the project. A Planning Commission recommendation is not required for transitional housing facilities. Staff's recommendation for the City Council is to determine that the project is exempt from CEQA under CEQA Guidelines Section 15301, and that the exception to the exemption as set forth in CEQA Guidelines Section 15300.2 would not apply, and approve conditional use permit number 2053090. This concludes staff's report.
Thank you. We'll now take public testimony. Clerk, please proceed.
Yes, we'll begin with opposition. We have an organized group that's speaking. I'll call your names: Cindy Gompers-Graves, Sally Preston, Doug Kerner, Karen W. Odermatt, Patricia Alvarez, Becky Cortez, Jennifer Bustamante, Genevieve Fong, and Chris Holder, I can't tell based on the penmanship. You have time seated as well by Melanie Ellsworth and Cheryl Evans. This would give you 11 minutes. Do you want me to put 11 minutes on the clock, and y'all will just, you can line up and just manage your time? You know, you get a little over a minute each.
That would be appreciated, thank you.
My time. My name's Farrington.
Excellent, so it'll be 12 minutes on the clock.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members, city staff. I'm Cindy Gomper-Graves with the South County Economic Development Council. And first of all, let me start off by saying we think the SMART program is a good program. We just think that you're putting it in the wrong location. We don't think that Super 8 is the right location. I'm going to ask some of our members, and we'll start with our current chair, Sally Preston, to tell you why we don't think it's a good location. Sally?
Good afternoon, Chamber members. I just want to say that I grew up in the Nestor area on Leon Avenue. Lived in San Diego in South County all of my life since I was 16 and my dad retired from the Navy. If I heard correctly, the citizens in the area voted against this just because there is no requirement to get some sort of permit from the Coastal Commission does not mean that the residents think this is a good program to have on Palm Avenue. South County EDCs worked very hard for many years to improve Palm Avenue, and this just is not moving in the right direction. So personally, I am against it. That's all I have to say.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Odermatt, and I live in Imperial Beach. I've lived there for 50 years. So the corridor up Palm Avenue goes right through Imperial Beach into the South County beaches. So the city of Imperial Beach has invested in Palm Avenue and is making a difference by attracting new and vibrant businesses. Breakwater Center at 9th and Palm and Bayside Townhomes at Rainbow and State Route 75 are prime examples. However, the city of San Diego has all but forgotten that portion of Palm Avenue, which is to the east, right by 5. Today, you are considering placing a use on Palm Avenue that will further hinder the city's ability to attract investment. By converting the Super 8 hotel into transitional housing, you are continuing to look the other way and not put the type of uses Palm Avenue needs. Palm Avenue should be celebrated by the city of San Diego and embraced as the gateway to the South County beaches. Instead, it has become a dumping ground for unwanted uses and neglected infrastructure by the city of San Diego. I urge you to vote no on the action item before you today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Genevieve DePerio-Fong, and I'm a board member of South County EDC. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. I happen to drive on Palm Avenue every day to drive my children to their grandma and grandpa's house, and I know that this corridor has a huge potential for revitalization and economic investment and could definitely see new uses, but I'm here to oppose the Super 8 hotel project. South County has been advised that the Coastal Commission must approve a change in use, such as the conversion of the Super 8 hotel to transitional housing. We respectfully request to the city that we reevaluate the need for Coastal Commission approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for letting us have the time to speak with you. My name is Becky Cortez, a South County resident and a proud member of the South County EDC. I oppose the conversion of the Super 8 hotel to transitional housing for minor offenders with drug abuse needs. Palm Avenue is a gateway to the South County beaches. Access both to Imperial Beach and Coronado Beach use Palm Avenue. Taking this visitor service hotel away from a beach corridor is not in the economic best interest of the city. Additionally, South County EDC filed an appeal questioning the city's exemption from Coastal Commission approval. We respectfully request an impartial review of the decision that exempts this conversion from a hotel to transitional housing from the Coastal Community Review. I thank you very much for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for this opportunity. My name is Chris Holder, and I was born and raised in Imperial Beach and am a lifelong South County resident. And I applaud the SMART program. My sister died of alcohol, drug addiction, and a lot of the drugs were probably scored in this neighborhood. It's probably the center of drug addiction and activity in the South County, and it's the very worst place you could possibly put a program of this scale in anywhere in the county except maybe another downtown location. I'm not against the program at all. I applaud it. The city attorney and the police chief, they made great comments on it, but the scale and location, I believe the city attorney said they put 24 the first year. It was a great graduating program, but I believe that's from 2 separate locations. To put 84 drug addicts that want to get, hopefully they'll get recovered, but in this neighborhood is like putting gas on a fire. It is a really tough neighborhood. I don't know if you've taken a tour down there. It's got probably one of the roughest trailer parks surrounding it. It's you put those people in this neighborhood, it's just going to be a disaster. And I beg you to please reconsider, break these down into 2 or 3 different sites to make it more manageable and spread it around the city, and it'd be much more effective. Thank you.
So in summary, first of all, I do want to ensure that you all are aware that all of the South Bay mayors signed a letter in opposition to this, along with Councilmember David Alvarez. And we do not think this is a not in my backyard thing. This is just an enormous scale of a use that will actually work to discourage economic investment in an area that dramatically needs a lot of help right now and a lot of economic investment. It's also the gateway to South County beaches. We have a different vision for Palm Avenue. Our vision is someday having a similar Hillcrest kind of sign that says welcome to South County beaches, because when you go down Palm Avenue, that is exactly how you get to Imperial Beach or Coronado down the Silver Strand. And so our vision isn't the same as this, and we think that by this use going in there, you're actually going to hinder our abilities to do that. Lastly, you're removing a low-cost visitor serving hotel. We have a little bit of a disagreement with city staff on that, but we do think that a hotel does serve tourists, and we need those tourist dollars, especially on Palm Avenue. This is a long-forgotten area of the city of San Diego, and we just respectfully request that you reconsider this and you look for ways to put uses on Palm Avenue that will attract business instead of discouraging business. With that, we would succeed the rest of our time, and thank you very much for your attention and encourage you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll turn now to individual speakers in opposition. Each will have a minute. So when I call your name, please come forward. There are seats in the front for speakers. Gabriel Mizrachi, come forward. You'll have a minute. You'll be followed by Andy Hall, followed by Alberto Velasquez. And again, when I've called your name, there are 2 seats with yellow signs on them up front here, so speakers on deck should be in those seats. Gabriel is our first speaker, followed by Andy Hall, followed by Alberto Velasquez. You'll each have a minute. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, hi, my name is Gabriel Mizrachi. We are currently in escrow. It's this next property west of the motel. And if the motion motion was approved, we would really seriously reconsider buying the property. We have a few days to remove contingencies, and if the approval goes ahead, we would reconsider. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Andy Hall is our next speaker. Mr. Hall will be followed by Alberto Velasquez, followed by Julio Cordova.
Thank you. Members of the City Council, my name is Andy Hall. I'm the City Manager for the City of Imperial Beach. Just wanted to thank you all for all you do to work with us in addressing the issues on our common border, especially Councilman Alvarez. He really does a lot for our community. Also wanted to thank the members of the City Attorney's Office who came down and gave us a really good presentation to our City Council. I think they removed a lot of the myths around the facility. And so I think that you have all gotten a copy of the letter of opposition from the City Council, as well as the letter that Cindy referred to with the mayors from the South Bay. But I wanted to let you know that the City Council asked me to come and clarify their position, that they are very much in favor of the SMART program. They think it is a great program. Again, the City Attorney's presentation changed a lot of minds in that respect. But once again, I think that their concern is the location, so the letter of opposition was in the location. On the location. They believe that there are other areas in the vicinity within a mile that perhaps could be used. They're very similar facilities, but they would not be located on the major commercial corridor nor in the coastal zone. So anyway, just wanted to clarify the position of the City Council. And again, thank you guys for the partnerships that we work there on our city boundary.
Thank you, sir. Alberto Velasquez, followed by Julio Cordova, followed by Rodel Reyes.
Hi, good morning. My name is Alberto Velasquez. I'm the chair of the Otay Mesa Nestor Planning Group. This actually came up to our planning group, and we voted 12 in opposition and 2 abstentions to this project. The main reasoning was there were concerns from the board and the membership in regards to not only the security, but also concerns about whether or not the Coastal Commission would allow this project to continue. Again, not to belabor the point from the previous speakers, but the location is critical to our community. It's a main thoroughfare. It is the main entry point for communities like Imperial Beach and Coronado, and we're really trying to make it into a hub of economic development for our neighborhood. This would seriously hinder those projects and our efforts. So again, speaking on behalf of the Planning Board, we were in opposition to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Julio Cordova is the next speaker. You'll be followed by Rodel Reyes, followed by Travis Brazil.
Good afternoon. My name is Julio Cordova. I am a resident of the at the Imperial Sands Mobile Home Park, been living there for the past 32 years, trying to give my kids a better life. And with this, we're going backwards. I'm pretty sure that this program is very good, but the location is the worst location for everybody, and that's everybody. An example of this housing plan is like putting a piece of bread in front of a hungry person. Thank you.
Thank you. Rodel Reyes, followed by Travis Brazil, followed by John Barros.
Council members, my name is Rodel Reyes. I am a resident of Otay Mesa Nestor community, and I'm also the National Night Out Chair, which is our crime prevention fair for the city of San Diego in the South Bay. You know, the Super 8 Motel is in the heart of our Palm Avenue revitalization plan. It will play a critical role with our tourism. So please do not take away our tourism dollars in the South Bay region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Travis Brazil. You'll be followed by John Barros, and then we'll turn to speakers in favor, beginning with Anthony White.
Travis Brazil. Thank you, Council. I'm a resident of Imperial Beach, home of great beaches, incredible sunsets. I stand in opposition to this SMART program for a number of reasons, but primarily it denies affordable accommodations for people that come to visit our incredible location. In concept, I do not oppose the program, but it could not be placed in a worse area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. John Barros is our next speaker, then we'll turn to speakers in favor.
Good afternoon. My name is John Barus, and I live in the Lilac Fire Zone in the epicenter of the fires, but I saw this. I was basically evacuated and I hadn't seen TV or anything until this morning. But there's an incredible precedent to this. Prior to moving to San Diego, I lived in Clearwater, Florida. And in Clearwater, Florida, there's a precedent to this. It's a Goodwill Largo residential reentry program. A council like yourselves and the police approved of that program on its inception. It dealt with drug users, misdemeanors, prostitutes, and the like. What happened to our community? We protested this. It took place in 2007 and 2008. It's an identical program to this. It's parallels in every single way. I owned a business next door, such as this gentleman was speaking about. At the time when the buildings were for sale, the property next door was owned by the Church of Scientology. It was a hotel, and it was used for family use, and it was purchased by Goodwill for this exact program. My property value went from $1.7 million to nothing. I had to give it away. My daughter's life was in jeopardy. We had every single day, we had contraband being put in the bushes. Eventually, there was a double murder, double homicide, which was covered up by a fire. A Japanese exchange student had been murdered at the location. The property values in the base, there were trailer parks around us, all plummeted, which meant that the tax base plummeted.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. I'm sorry. Thank you. Before I call forward the in favor speakers, I'd also note that Sam Mendoza, Veronica Picasso, and Irma Zamedro also submitted speaker slips in opposition but did not wish to speak. Our in favor speakers, Anthony White will be followed by Thomas Barb, will be followed by Amanda Lay.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony White. I'm the Director of Community and Government Relations at Family Health Centers of San Diego, providing some of the SMART services right now and working with Theodore, the gentleman you just saw. Since I don't have much time, I thought that I would point out the issue that we had when we were advocating on behalf of the Connections Project here in downtown San Diego to house the homeless in an 8 or 10 story project that has hundreds of homeless people living there. There was I'm told that the CUP that's developed for this project was based on that. There's a neighborhood advisory committee there that I sit on to work with the neighbors, and basically no one ever shows up at that. No one comes to the meetings anymore because there's not any issues. What I'm saying, I think, is that that the way that the project is run is very important, and the way that we intend to run that as the service provider in collaboration with our partners is the same way that the Connections Project is run. We hope that you look at this, that you approve the CUP, and that you waive the SEQA requirement for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Barb is our next speaker. You'll be followed by Amanda Lay.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Barb. I'm a constituent of Ms. Gomez's Council District 9, and I am the chair of the Talmadge Community Council. As you know, the City Attorney's SMART program is essential in helping people get stability in their lives and ultimately getting them on the right track to permanent housing in all of our communities. It shouldn't matter where a facility is located. There are assistance rehab facilities located all over the city with no negative impact to the community in which they're located. The important fact is that the SMART program will bring positivity to the neighborhood, not negativity, as so many folks believe it will. I ask that you please approve the conditional use permit for this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our final speaker, Amanda Lay.
Good afternoon, Council President Cole and council members. I am here on behalf of the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial Counties to voice its support of today's resolution to move forward with creating additional transitional housing for SMART program participants. The ACLU of San Diego supports the SMART program to the extent that it remains true to harm reduction principles. Increasing access to housing is a crucial component to expanding the SMART program. Programs like SMART address the revolving door in the criminal justice system, which ultimately helps to increase the quality of life and safety of our communities. By supporting this program and policies designed to acknowledge the dignity of justice-involved individuals, our communities can move away from ineffective approaches to incarceration and implement a vision of comprehensive treatment and support that creates long-term benefits for both individuals and the larger community. As the program grows, we would also support expansion to pre-filing model where people are given the option of participating even before the city attorney's office files charges. For these reasons, we support the resolution today and urge your aye vote. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes the public speakers on this item.
Thank you. Turning to council member questions and comments, Council Member Alvarez.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I want to thank the members of the community who've been here now for 3 hours. Appreciate your patience to be able to provide your testimony on this item. I do want to acknowledge the city attorney's comments from the beginning of the meeting. The assistant city attorney, I am making this decision relying on the record before us today, and I hope actually that the rest of the council does as well, as I will be presenting some evidence that I think certainly questions the legality of this program. So hope you consider that. First and foremost, I want to start off by acknowledging the intent behind the program itself. I think many of you, if not all of you, spoke about the good that can happen from a program like this. And I have not shared this story before, but I will today. I have a couple of brothers who were involved in a lot of activity in the 80s and 90s. Growing up in Barrio Logan, it was a tough place to be. They were members of gangs. They got sent, they were in prison for some time. Some spent time in jail, juvenile hall. 2 of them lived in halfway houses in my community. And so, you know, thank God they were able to get their life on track and are now full contributing members of society, full-time jobs, doing what they need to do, raising a family, own homes in our community. And certainly there's a lot of benefit to giving people opportunities. So I appreciate those of you who support that. I think that's a good thing, and I think everybody should have that opportunity. But the item actually before us today has nothing to do with that. It actually has to do with a land use decision as to whether this particular location, this particular facility is legally possible, is available to us to use for this purpose. And I only point to the testimony and the record that we have on the local coastal program, which is what was approved by the Coastal Commission when the Community Planning Group approved their plan update, when the City Council approved the plan update, and ultimately when the Coastal Commission approved the plan update. And it is very clear, it's not murky. It says there's a recommendation under recreation and visitor serving facilities and services, specifically this location, that the retention and rehabilitation of existing hotels, retail and visitor-oriented commercial areas along the southern edge of the San Diego Bay in order to maintain visitor-oriented uses and public access to coastal resources. It cannot be any clearer. But if that wasn't clear enough for you, we've given all of you a couple of letters from Coastal Commission staff where they indicate, in fact, that this is the case, and that if we are to remove coastal assets such as this one, then we should replace it. And there is no plan to replace this visitor accommodation, which is now, by the way, at the cost of $13 million. It's increased substantially. So at the cost of about $300,000 per unit, which we'll get to in the next item, which has to do with the money part of this. But the Coastal Commission staff has been very clear. It is unfortunate that the Coastal Act and the law has not been followed. I will also point to you in your backup, you have September 1st letter from DSD, where it states that this parcel or this property is in the coastal overlay zone, an appealable area to the Coastal Commission. So to assume that the Coastal Commission is not going to get involved with this, that is not going to try to assert their authority on this particular site, is turning a blind eye to the facts. And that's what I warned the council about in June, when the council voted to spend over $6 million to acquire the property. We have still not done our due diligence on this site. We do not have a city attorney opinion on the site, and we should not be moving forward today until we have that information. Again, The cost, which we'll get to in the next item, is in on itself. You heard some presentation from the public on our intent on Palm Avenue, on revitalizing Palm Avenue. The city actually spent $200,000+ on a plan to do so. This just goes backwards on our commitment to, certainly to this part of San Diego, to this part of Palm Avenue, both in our community plan, in our work with the revitalization plan, and certainly in what we told the Coastal Commission we would do. And we are violating that here today if this moves forward. So I hope that you do take this into consideration. One last thing, there's been talk about that this is a homeless facility. Please don't go there. Those of you that are going to make comments on this, to my colleagues, look at the 30+ page application that was submitted for this. Look at the letter of recommendation from the city attorney. Look at the letter of recommendation from the mayor. Look at the letter of recommendation from the chief of police. There is not one mention, there's not one instance of the word homeless in this project. This is a halfway house. That's the intent. And I hope that you all respect this community that for too long has been neglected and disrespected, and it's time that we do right. This is certainly not the right project, at least not the right location, and we're going to be caught up, I think, in a long time before we ever see any of these come forward. I urge you a lot of caution. I urge you not to support this, and I appreciate again the members of the public for your testimony, for your work, and my recommendation would be not to support this item.
Thank you. Councilmember Ward. Hands, please, so we can get through this. Thank you. Councilmember Ward.
Thank you, Council President. And I guess I'd like to start off with just a quick question to see if there was a second to Councilmember Alvarez's motion.
Not yet. I have no second.
Okay, seeing no second, I'd request that we table the motion then, and I'd actually like to make a motion to be able to approve this item. I want to thank staff for their work in preparing the conditional use permit, and I certainly want to address the community and some of your concerns because we have been through this several times over in my district. Moving forward on the SMART program, it's the right move to keep San Diegans in housing and out of the cycle of homelessness. And without all due respect to my colleague, I do believe that many of our participants, Ms. Easton, is it true, those in the pilot program are homeless or are at risk of becoming homeless?
Yes, if you recall, in order to qualify for the SMART program, you have to have at least 2 quality of life offenses in the past 6 months and 2 drug offenses since Prop 47 passed. And what I mean by quality of life offenses are those associated with homeless individuals.
Thank you, and this is also a great example of how we could be converting existing nuisance and underutilized property into housing, something I've been advocating for as one of the many things that we can be doing to address homelessness. And I have a question for Chief Zimmerman. I wonder if you remembered off the top of your head what the number of incidences or calls for service at this property have been.
Thank you for asking that question. Yes, I'd say in the last 20 months or so, we've had close to 40 calls to that location. The calls have ranged from disturbances, from mental health, from drugs, to suicide, from discharging firearms, so a variety of calls.
So firearms, drugs, prostitution?
I don't know if one was prostitution.
Human trafficking?
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay,
I know
but there
trespassing, homeless calls, things of that nature. And again, domestic violence and like violent calls, domestic violence and discharging firearms too.
Certainly, yes. It's not in good shape right now and hasn't been for some time, and that I think has brought some detriment to the community. My information here suggests that over the last couple of years, there's been about a 25% occupancy rate. So this really is both not an underutilized, low-cost visitor-serving facility, but also for those that are using it, they're using it in a very inappropriate way. So I think we have a chance to actually do better by Palm Avenue and also simultaneously address San Diego's housing crisis. And I do recognize the community's concerns for the program, but that's why we're looking at conditional use permits. I know we started off, and I've heard many people say that SMART is a good program, but just not right here. And I appreciated we had somebody here from Connections Housing that really recalled that very same conversation that we had in the downtown community. But I am just echoing back to time about 4 or 5 years ago when we had a very similar conversation around the Aspire Center, which is right in between Old Town and Mission Hills. The VA wanted to come in and take over the old Thomas Jefferson School, and it was directly across the street from a K-8 elementary school. And I was a member of Uptown Planners at the time, and we had a really robust conversation about, yes, we want to help the vets, and yes, they have PTSD, and yes, there's a lot of issues, and they're facing homelessness. Right program, just not right here. We can't have that there. And what are the parents going to do? And it's going to be such a nuisance on the neighborhood. And we did form that community advisory group to make sure that all neighborhood issues would be responded to and addressed. And as it turns out, 5 years later, they're looking at disbanding those, much like we're looking at the Connections Housing system right now about disbanding that, or at least suspending that, because there have been no issues. Meanwhile, there have been a lot of site improvements there that have actually made that a successful facility, have made the old World Trade Center here in downtown a successful facility, and I certainly see a lot in this CUP that will make this a successful facility for the neighborhood. Litter and loiter control plan, a security plan, street design, streetscape improvements, architectural improvements. Those are all things that you want to see to help an attractive, revitalized commercial area. You have ADA improvements, you're going to have also sidewalk improvements, building repairs and upgrades, interior and exterior security cameras, electrical vehicular and pedestrian gates, new sidewalks. Ms. Easton, can I ask for the participants of this program, if they decided to exit the facility and walk down the street and do drugs, what would be the consequence?
Failure to abide by the rules of the program or to remain engaged in the program will send them back into the criminal justice system.
As they should, and I think that, we are seeing a really successful pilot program, and we received the maximum statewide grant for a project of this type to be able to help out as many people as we can, but also help improve our public safety issues, and both locally in that community, but also region-wide. So I, certainly, again, recall a lot of very same community conversations that we've had around very similar kinds of CUP discussions, and I just think that this is the right thing to go, is to be able to support this program and do institute the neighborhood advisory community, which is also an element of that CUP. I think that there is going to be a lot of opportunity to both revitalize the corridor along Palm Avenue, which has been neglected and has been, I think, not treated well for decades, and we have the opportunity right now to right in front of us to utilize this property to really, hopefully, serve as a keystone for further revitalization efforts, and I definitely want to support that. I really note that the SMART program, it's really the epitome of housing first, and for those that don't want to warehouse individuals in tents, SMART is a real solution. It's providing those affordable housing opportunities. This is going to last for 55 years at the cost of $265,000 per unit. So when I look at a quick math and I realize these are 12-month programs, is that correct?
The treatment lasts about 6 months, and participants can remain housed for at least 2 years.
So on average, there might be about 12 months per participant. You're doubling up per room. So this is about $2,400 per person per year. That is a real effective use of public dollars that we have available to us today to really be able to make the difference for probably what's going to be thousands of San Diegans over the next 2 generations. I said this before in committee, and I hope that there can be a prioritization for Southern Division offendants as you find qualified individuals, to make sure that as a priority goes to those individuals from that community and really be able to help improve the street public safety issues. I think that would be an important element. And with that, again, I'm happy to approve staff recommendations. I do want to support this project, and I also do wear 2 hats. I also serve as an alternate commissioner to the California Coastal Commission, and I certainly respect and see through the guise of the need to respect our local coastal plan. I recognize that comes at some interpretation, and I still remain very confident that we are respecting the Coastal Act, even in light of a decision like this today. So thank you.
Thank you. So we did not get a second to Councilmember Alvarez's motion, and we had a new motion on the floor to approve staff recommendation by Councilmember Ward. Councilmember Gomez.
Thank you. I have a few questions. The Neighborhood Advisory Committee that is being proposed, how would that function?
So it's going to be run by the city attorney's office or the housing provider. And actually, in the next presentation, we talk about it a little bit. But it will be comprised of neighborhood residents, faith-based communities, businesses within a quarter mile, but also representatives from the city. So a representative from my office, the mayor's office, hopefully a representative from Council District 8, and as well as the San Diego Police Department.
Okay, thank you. And then this is an expansion to what we already have, right, in terms of the SMART program?
That's correct. If you recall, the pilot program started with $98,000, so it was only enough for 10 beds. With the state grant funding of $3 million, we hope to expand to 84 beds at this new facility.
Can you speak to the 8 beds that we have? Were there any complaints from the surrounding community or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Chief, do you know?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any complaints to the current program that we have around the surroundings.
I'm not aware of any.
Okay, thank you. You know, I get in, you know, just want to thank the audience for coming here and expressing your concerns, as well as the support for the program. I am mindful of the historical lack of investment in South Bay. I represent a different area, District 9, also an underserved community. So I'm very mindful of that. But I have been in conversations with District Attorney, and I've been one of those where I welcome this program to my district and actually looking for locations to hopefully expand it even more. And the reason being really is because this is, whether being homeless or not, this is an opportunity for folks that, for whatever reason, got caught doing low offenses, can have an opportunity to restore their lives and be reintroduced to hopefully a better future, and I think that's a good thing. I've been a full supporter of Proposition 47 since the beginning, continue to be a full supporter, so I will be supporting this item. If there's a need for a second, I'll have a second.
Thank you. So I do have a motion by Councilmember Ward that was seconded by Councilmember Gomez. Seeing no other members on the lights, please vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
And that passes 8-1 with Councilmember Alvarez voting no.
Thank you. Clerk, please introduce item 203.
Item 203, allocation of community development block grant funds for the rehabilitation of 1788 Palm Avenue Super 8 Motel for the Palm Avenue Transitional Housing Project for the San Diego Misdemeanants At-Risk Track SMART Program. Stephen Meduli-Williams, Program Manager, Economic Development Department, is listed as staff, and we do have 2 public speakers in opposition and 2 in favor on this item.
And how much time would you like for your presentation? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council President, fellow council members. I am Stephen Meduli-Williams, Program Manager in the Economic Development Department, and I'm presenting today along with Laura Easton from the City Attorney's Office. The item before you today is for the allocation of community development block grant funds for the rehabilitation of the city-owned building located at 1788 Palm Avenue for the SMART program. As you know, the city acquired the former Super 8 motel on November 16th of this year. In July of this year, City Council approved $6.65 million in community development block grant funds for the acquisition of the SMART facility. At that time, staff indicated that we would return to council in late fall of this year to seek approval for both the CUP and the funds needed to rehabilitate the facility for the SMART program. In front of you, you basically have the aerial that Jeffrey showed you earlier. So this is, again, just the area map of the location. Again, Jeffrey kind of described the proposed use of community development block grant funds in the facility. Again, our goal is to spend up to $6.5 million in community development block grant funds for the facility upgrades, and that fee includes city CIP design, as well as engineering costs, as well as sustainability improvement like solar panels. Again, the site will have enhanced curb appeal, dramatically improved safety and security. The site will also be ADA compliant. One thing that we wanted to really emphasize is that this is new investment, roughly $13 million along Palm Avenue. And with that, the goal is to make sure that we were consistent with the general plan housing element, with the Otay-Nesta community plan, and then finally, we wanted to be consistent with the Palm Avenue revitalization plan. Again, real quickly, the proposed facility upgrades, again, we're going to go from 61 units to 61 rooms to 42 units, which will accommodate up to 84 individuals. A lot of the transition was really involved around changing the space for more communal uses. That means having a communal kitchen, dining, training, meeting rooms, fitness rooms, a computer lab, and laundry and storage facilities. Again, we talked about some of the safety and security improvements, including gates, parking lot lights, security cameras, fire sprinklers, alarms, and carbon monoxide detection systems, all of which don't really exist right now on the site. So all will be significant upgrades to what's existing there. Again, there will be ADA compliance improvements in terms of new front entry sidewalks, parking lot restriping, as well as ADA parking. And then lastly, there's been significant energy put into new landscaping for outside appearance and curb appeal.
Good afternoon again, Laura Easton, Chief Deputy City Attorney. The next two slides address the community outreach that has led up to today's hearing. The City Attorney's Office, the San Diego Police Department, Economic Development, and the Mayor's Office has done extensive outreach in the Otay Mesa Nestor area to address community concerns, including the City Attorney personally hosting a town hall on September 27th. In addition, I have personally presented on SMART to various organizations throughout San Diego County, including the SANDAG Public Safety Committee, the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, who is our partner in the Prop 47 grant, the Imperial Beach Kiwanis Club, and as Mr. Hall mentioned, the Imperial Beach City Council. As a quick reminder, on February 21st of this year, the city and county submitted a joint grant application to the Board of State and Community Corrections for Prop 47 funds. Our grant proposal ranked first in the state out of 58 other proposals, primarily due to SMART's clear-cut diversion and housing. As a result, on June 16th of this year, the SMART program received $3 million of Prop 47 funds. The purchase and renovation of the SMART facility will allow SMART to expand from 10 beds to 84, and will allow the opportunity for treatment and self-sufficiency for hundreds of more participants, like the one you saw in the video today. In terms of safeguards, I don't want to belabor the point, but there will be a resident facility manager with 24-hour front desk staff, 24-hour security. Most of the services will be on site in terms of case management, counseling, housing referrals, housing navigations, as well as a community clinic run by Family Health Centers. There will be rules of conduct for residents and for visitors, a communications plan, a litter plan, as well as a security plan, and a 5-year review of the CUP by this city council. Finally, a neighborhood advisory committee has already been underway. The city attorney's office has been out in the neighborhood soliciting input and soliciting participation from community members to help guide the program and advise the office on neighborhood concerns. The neighborhood advisory committee will consist of residents and property owners within a quarter mile of the facility, business operators, neighborhood groups, and the faith community. In addition, city representatives will include the San Diego Police Department, the mayor's office, City District 8, as well as myself as the representative from the city attorney's office. Per the terms of the CUP, this neighborhood advisory committee will be formed within 30 days of the passage of this CUP, which means 30 days from now, I'll be meeting with the community for them to provide advice and guidance on the formation of the program. I'll now pass it back to Stephen to address the project timeline.
Thank you, Laura. So as I stated earlier, we closed on the site on November 16th. Obviously today we're hoping for city council approval for the CEP as well as the city facility upgrades. Our goal is to start rehabilitation in April of 2018 and complete that by September of 2018 and have a grand opening for the facility in October of 2018. In closing, staff is seeking approval of a resolution authorizing an expenditure in the amount not to exceed $6.5 million in community development block grant funds for rehabilitation of real property and improvements located at 1788 Palm Avenue, and authorizing related actions. City staff and consultants are in the audience and are available for any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now take public testimony. Clerk, please proceed.
Yes, we'll begin with the opposition speakers. Alberto Velasquez, and will be followed by Dante Pamantuan. If I've called your name and you want to come forward, please do so. Otherwise, speakers in favor, Thomas Barb, followed by Amanda Lay. You'll have 2 minutes. Please just state your name before you speak.
Dante Pamantuan, good afternoon. Happy Tuesday to you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Dante Pamantuan, and I have lived in South Park, South Bay, and Imperial Beach since 1970. Currently, I'm a full-time realtor helping clients throughout San Diego County, specifically zip codes of 92154, Otay Mesa, 91932 Imperial Beach, 92104 South and North Park, and Pacific Beach, 92109. As you may or may not know, Imperial Beach is on the upswing. It's an exciting time to live and work in Imperial Beach. Our resurgence is due to the optimism and vision of our previous and current city leaders and community activists. We invite our friends and neighbors of San Diego Otay Nestor to join us in this economic prosperity, because a rising tide lifts all boats. Home values are up, more businesses are opening. It's time for our South Bay communities to focus and act on a prosperous economic agenda, a win-win solution. We look forward to your positive leadership in taking Palm Avenue, South Bay, Otay Mesa to the next economic and prosperous level. From a business standpoint, economic development, there are 7 economical reasons for the SMART rehab program to be relocated from the proposed Super 8 location. Number 1, does not fit the optimistic economic master plan for the Palm Avenue business corridor for Imperial Beach, Coronado Cays, and Otay Nestor. I sit on the design review board as the chairman for the city of Imperial Beach, and I've seen all the prosperity and great ideas to start up that economic engine on Palm Avenue. This proposed SMART program benefits just a few, and not the many surrounding businesses for economic and job creation. I know I only have 8 seconds left, so I'm going to go down to the last statistics that somebody had mentioned. Occupancy rate went from 28% to 36% in 2016. That's an 8% growth in occupancy rate. Give us a chance to do this, on a business side. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Alberto Velasquez here? If not, then Thomas Barb, please come forward, followed by Amanda Lay.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Thomas Barb, Talmadge Community Council Chair, District 9. We've heard all kinds of negative and positive comments about this program. I believe the SMART program is a great opportunity for people to get back out into the streets and become productive citizens. So I believe the investment in this property would be wise. So with that said, I would ask you to please approve the community development block grant funds for renovations in this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Amanda Lay spoke on item 204, but she's in favor. That concludes the public speakers on this item.
Thank you. Turning to council member questions and comments, Council Member Alvarez.
Thank you. Is there any money set aside in this allocation for potential replacement of visitor facilities? Or is this all just for the specific location, rehab work?
It's all specifically for rehab work.
Okay. And what is the increase in the cost from the previous presentation that you gave on this?
The previous presentation, we estimated that the cost would be roughly about $4.5 million. At that time, that was, several months ago. And what we're asking for in approval is an amount not to exceed $6.5 million.
Okay. That's fine, thank you. You're taking money from the CDBG repayment program to pay for this portion of it?
Yes.
How much is left in the CDBG debt repayment program?
In aggregate?
Yes.
My guess, roughly over the next 10 to 15 years, just south of $200 million.
That's the figure I recalled as well. Is this going to be distributed to the city on an annual basis? Is there a schedule? I guess?
Well, there's two repayment schedules. There's one repayment schedule that is, really has about 2 years left. That's the OIG, and then there's the long-term debt agreement, which roughly right now is scheduled at $10 million a year, probably for the next 14 years.
Okay. That's it on that, thank you. I'll just make some comments now. This is money that is certainly could be put to good use in the community. I said it in June when we voted on this. I would hope that half of this type of money would be invested in the community of Otay Mesa and Esther. It hasn't. There's never been an investment of this magnitude in the community. And the money is coming to the city now on a regular basis. I would hope, encourage certainly the mayor and certainly this council to look to this community to invest in ways that would really benefit job creation, economic development, certainly along Palm Avenue. There's a lot of needs. The plan from the revitalization plan is quite expensive. It's going to need a lot of public investment, certainly some private investment. It'd be appreciated to be thought of once in a while for investments that really would maximize the activity, whether it's Palm Avenue or other areas of South San Diego. There's a lot of money coming back to the city. I don't want to hear any more excuses that there is no money to do things. There's plenty. So when we request that we spend some money and invest some money in South San Diego and in disadvantaged communities, there shouldn't be a reason why we can't invest significantly. So I'll be doing that, and hopefully there'll be appropriate response to that, as the community desperately does need investments like this one, but I will not support this today.
Thank you, Councilmember Ward.
Thank you, and I certainly would want to, and will continue to support investments in all of our communities, particularly those that have been disadvantaged for a number of years, but I'm happy to move this item in staff's recommendation.
Thank you. So I have a motion by Councilmember Ward. Do I have a second? Second by Pro Tem Kersey. Seeing no other on the lights, please vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
And that passes 8-1 with Councilmember Alvarez voting no.
Thank you. Clerk, please introduce item 209.